I'm not going to back down from them one bit. I will answer all of these senators' questions, but this will not be a process tried in the media. I don't answer to anyone in this group. None of you, not to that camera at all.
Will Kash Patel be confirmed, as I expect he will be, but you're the guy who knows. What do you think?
Yes, he will be.
Parkland school shooting survivor. David, good morning. I'm so grateful to have you.
Good morning. Happy to be here.
So tell us a little bit about this. Are you thinking about running for this leadership post, and why?
Well, honestly, I'm considering it.
Pete Hegseth spent the afternoon on Capitol Hill campaigning for his confirmation as Defense Secretary. He met with senators, both in small groups as well as one-on-one, to answer any questions they may have and to address the allegations against him. Well, as he was leaving, he was ambushed by the mainstream media, and this interaction is pure gold.
And I'm proud of what I fought for. I'm not going to back down from them one bit. I will answer all of these senators' questions, but this will not be a process tried in the media. I don't answer to anyone in this group. None of you, not to that camera at all. I answer to President Trump, who received 76 million votes on behalf and a mandate for change. I answer to the 100 senators who are part of this process and those in the committee. And I answer to my Lord and Savior and my wife and my family. I'm proud to be here. And as long as Donald Trump wants me in this fight, I'm going to be standing right here in this fight, fighting to bring our Pentagon back to what it needs to be.
Now, what I love about this is that it is completely different from the Matt Gaetz situation. It is very clear that Hegseth intends to stay in this fight all the way to the end, as long as Trump will keep him nominated, and again, that appears to be the case. Well, the mainstream media is already trotting out new allegations. First, it was the allegations of sexual assault, and when that didn't seem to penetrate through the noise, now they're trying to go after his drinking habits and trying to paint Hegseth as some sort of alcoholic. CNN spent an entire 2-minute segment on a Washington Post article that has very little substance behind it. Take a look at this.
And we just have to sort of put some meat on the bone here, which is allegations keep coming out of various forms. One of them was at the Washington Post yesterday, which reported at Fox News, Hegseth had a reputation as a heavy drinker. That's according to 6 former Fox News employees who worked directly with Hegseth and saw him drinking on the job or visibly drunk at work events, and who spoke on the condition of anonymity out of fear of retaliation. Now, before I bring you in, I want to say that Hegseth's attorney, Tim Parlatore, very clearly denied those claims and pointed to, on the record, Fox employees who supported and do support his nomination and say that that didn't happen.
And Hegseth himself, behind closed doors, talking to senators, as well as a little pit stop in the House yesterday, also said the same things. I am not an alcoholic. That is what he is telling these senators. Seems like some Republican senators have welcomed that, specifically the promise that Hegseth is making to them, which is, I also will not be drinking on the job. I will not be drinking if I am confirmed as Defense Secretary. So that is pretty significant, maybe could move the needle, but there's still so many other questions. And, you know, to Kristen's reporting about right now, there aren't any hard no's. Well, there could be at a certain point. And like we have all been saying, all eyes are truly on Senator Joni Ernst. If she is going to decide to go against him, I think you're going to probably see the likes of Senator Lisa Murkowski, possibly Susan Collins as well, come out against him. Here's the thing, the margin is 53, right? So you could lose 3 senators, and Vance could be that breaking tie to confirm Hegseth on the floor. So there's still a pathway. It's not impossible. Yeah. There's still a pathway.
And again, she is on the Armed Services Committee, which means that she would be part of not necessarily the vetting, but the questioning.
I just want to point out that Joni Ernst, as well as all those others, voted for Lloyd Austin. So if you voted for Lloyd Austin and you're not going to vote for Pete Hegseth for Defense Secretary, shame on you. Second of all, they were quoting this Washington Post article, which, as always, when it comes to Republicans, is always anonymous sources who are afraid to go on the record. They won't attach their name to anything. Sound familiar? Well, while 6 people were unwilling to go on the record for that story, Dozens of Fox News employees are speaking out about the latest allegations, calling them, quote, BS. Dozens of Pete Hegseth's Fox News colleagues debunk media's latest hit piece. And of course, that latest hit piece is that he's an alcoholic, that he's drunk on set, that he's an abusive drunk. Now, as always, when it comes to these stories, when it comes to the Democrats, and when it comes to the media, there is a little bit of truth. There is a kernel of truth that they blow out of proportion, that they completely take out of context. So here's the context, and this clip I'm about to show you is from Fox Nation. And for those of you who are unaware, Fox Nation is not technically a part of Fox News in that it's not broadcast on cable television, right? So Fox News is on TV. Fox Nation is specifically part of their online programming, which, if I'm not mistaken, you actually have to pay for. It's behind a paywall. So it's not as though this is publicly available online, but here is footage of Pete Hegseth being drunk while working at Fox News. Again, this is Fox Nation.
Keep going.
Keep going.
We're good.
You got it. Well, thank you guys for making the trip.
Cheers, gentlemen.
Cheers to you guys.
Cheers.
Cheers to Warriors. Appreciate you.
Cheers. Thank you, sir.
Now, let me be very clear. Pete doesn't make his show by himself. He has a producer, he has a director, he has a whole team of people. And by the way, that producer is tethered to Fox News, the network. If that producer didn't approve of Pete, serving whiskey to himself and his guests on air, then it wouldn't have happened. Pete doesn't have ultimate say on that unless he's executive producer of his show, which, to my knowledge, he is not. Now, here's the thing when it comes to online programming, when it comes to podcasts or even radio shows, it's not uncommon for the hosts and their guests to crack open a beer together or take a shot of whiskey. Heck, even Joe Rogan and Elon Musk famously got high together on a podcast. I mean, it's not as if these people are trying to be prim and proper straight news journalists. The whole point of this sort of programming is to be conversational, down to earth, and relatable to everyday people. So I don't find any of this. I don't find the fact that he drank whiskey on Fox Nation to be controversial in the slightest. By the way, he is nominated for defense secretary. It's not as though Trump picked him to be his vice president. Now, why do I bring up the vice president? Well, where was this level of outrage over Tim Walz? Yes, this is an actual picture of Tim Walz, an actual mugshot. By the way, he got pulled over for drunk driving, lied about it. He was speeding 96 miles per hour in a zone where it was 55, so he was going 41 over the speed limit. His blood alcohol level content was 0.128%. I think the legal federal limit is 0.08%. So he was well over that limit. By the way, if you were drunk and speeding 41 over the limit, I doubt that that's the first time you've ever done that. Second of all, I mean, he actively endangered other people around him. Not just him, but innocent bystanders. So how is that? How did that get a pass, and yet everyone is supposed to be freaking out about Pete Hegseth? It makes no sense. The attacks against Hegseth, what makes them frustrating, these sorts of attacks that always come from the left, it's like fighting a beehive. It's like fighting a swarm of bees. I mean, one bee on its own is not going to do much damage, but you can swat all you want, but they're still there. They're still going to get you. But fortunately, Pete Hegseth is still in this fight, and I think the sad thing is it's not just the Democrats. According to The Federalist, which usually has really good reporting, so I believe this, Trump World sources, Joni Ernst is waging, quote, aggressive personal jihad against Hegseth. So that obviously is not good news at all. So first it was the allegations of sexual assault, then it was the allegations that he's a drunk and an alcoholic, and now, they're trying to poke holes in his character over every little thing. So if you're on X, you've probably seen this picture of Pete. It looks like he's in his underwear. He's holding an American flag, and he is at Ground Zero. He's at the 9/11 memorial. And a lot of leftists are trying to take that photo out of context. They're trying to say, look at how inappropriate and disrespectful he is. Well, the context of that photo is that Pete Hegseth actually joined a Navy SEAL event. It was a swim and run in the Hudson River. And after the swim, and as he was running, so that was his bathing suit, he was carrying the American flag for the run portion. He ran by the memorial, and during that run, which again was part of a Navy SEAL event, he stopped to honor and remember the people who died on 9/11. So that's the story behind this photo, which the Democrats are trying to say, well, that just proves he's an unserious candidate. I mean, behind every single controversy, behind every single allegation, there is something that just makes sense. The Democrats are getting desperate. Desperate people do desperate things, and that's what they're doing right now. Well, there is good news. While Pete Hegseth is sucking out all the oxygen from the room, it appears that that's allowing other controversial picks to, fly by under the radar. So everyone was freaking out about Kash Patel being nominated to head up the FBI. Well, on the Hugh Hewitt program, John Cornyn was on, and he said that he believes that Patel has all the votes necessary to be confirmed. Take a look at this.
First of all, will Kash Patel be confirmed, as I expect he will be, but you're the guy who knows. What do you think?
Yes, he will be. People I have great respect for, people like Trey Gowdy, have recommended him highly. I'm still looking to schedule a meeting with Kash, but I think, certainly has vast experience, including working on the House Intelligence Committee on the Russiagate scam and the Steele dossier scandal. So look forward to meeting with him. I met with Pam Bondi the next.
Now, the good news out of all of this, right? The Democrats are going after Pete Hegseth. They're trying to make a mountain out of a molehill. This just proves that the Democrats haven't learned their lesson from the election at all. They are doubling down on stupid. They are doubling down on trying to destroy people with character assassination attempts. Well, David Hogg, who survived the Parkland shooting, he went on CNN and he revealed that he is considering running to be the next DNC chair. I mean, seriously, if David Hogg is the next head of the Democrat Party, we are in for a good decade of Republican and conservative and constitutionalist rule. Take a look at this.
Lives, and of course, a Parkland school shooting survivor. David, good morning. I'm so grateful to have you.
Good morning. Happy to be here.
So tell us a little bit about this. Are you thinking about running for this leadership post, and why?
Well, honestly, I'm considering it because I think that, one, obviously, I think we need a new generation in the DNC. If this election has taught us nothing else, I think we need an intergenerational coalition as a party. But I've spent the past 2 years or so traveling around the country, working to elect young people and talking to everyday people, knocking on doors in every swing state that you can imagine, and some very red states as well, from starting out in Alabama to places like Texas and Virginia and everywhere in between. And the thing that I've realized more than anything is that we have a number of problems in the party, but I think the main one overall is that we would rather live in a comfortable delusion than an uncomfortable reality. And I think what the party needs to do is open its eyes and take its fingers out of its ears, basically.
What is, when you say delusion, what is the delusion?
I think it's that we can just surround ourselves with people that agree with us a lot of the time in terms of the party leadership and also within the party itself, and think that's just who we need to be talking to constantly instead of listening to people who don't agree with us. Not that we inherently agree with them, but I think so much the issue that we have as a party right now is a kind of condescending tone that we have in a number of ways, where we're seen increasingly as elitist, as out of touch. And I think there are real conversations that we need to have, and we also need to help more, not just young people, but people from normal backgrounds run for office. I think Tim Walz.
I mean, he kind of has a point. A few things I did agree with. A broken clock is right twice a day. But the fundamental premise of him running to be the next DNC chair is flawed. His whole perspective is that there needs to be a new generation of leadership, which, again, sounds to be true on the surface. Nancy Pelosi and the other dinosaurs have to go. But when you read the actual reporting of what happened behind the scenes, it was very clear that Gen Z and these younger activists are basically holding the Democrat Party hostage. So If David Hogg runs, I doubt there's actually going to be any change. If anything, it's really just going to be Gen Z, the young activists, taking over and kicking out the dinosaurs like Nancy Pelosi, which, for the rest of us is a good thing, but I doubt he actually is open to new ideas. He himself is very condescending. He himself, by the way, before Tim Walz was officially named Kamala's running mate, David Hogg was campaigning. He was trying to get Walz the nomination. And when Walz was picked, David Hogg was all in. So this kid clearly not necessarily the brightest in the toolbox. And speaking of not being the brightest, Jake Tapper had a moment on CNN. So earlier today, there was the earthquake in Humboldt County in California, and that triggered a tsunami warning throughout the coast. Now, thankfully, nothing happened. I know I have a few viewers, Star Wars Fan 101. I know you're one of them. I'm glad you're safe. I'm glad nothing happened. Well, Jake Tapper was talking with an expert, and he was wondering whether or not climate change is contributing to these earthquakes that are going on. Take a look.
Does climate change play any role in the increasing severity of earthquakes?
Well, that's a good question. A lot of people are trying to work on that. Sea level change could have some effect on it, but there's really no evidence that it has much effect at this point. But there's a lot of people digging into that question. It's a really good question.
Well, that's a good question, but tell me you think Jake Tapper's stupid without telling me you think Jake Tapper's stupid. I just love that interaction. Now, before we wrap up this video, there is one other piece of news, but this is more entertainment news. This is more of a personal favorite, which I just want to share. But for anyone who loves the Wheel of Time books, fantasy series, as well as the Prime show, they just released the poster for season 3. I am very excited. That is Rand al'Thor carrying Moiraine Sedai. Very excited about that. Now, of course, obviously everything in here is just my analysis and commentary. That is what's going on in the world of politics from my point of view. And I would love to hear from you. So what do you think about the whole Hegseth debacle? Do you think it'll be derailed like Matt Gaetz? Do you think Hegseth will stay in the fight? Do you think these allegations are actually going to do any damage, or, is there a path for him to get confirmed, I guess, is the question at the end of the day. Let me know your thoughts in the comments down below. Now, here are a few comments from my last upload that I wanted to reply to. So, Sherry Contrary 2535 writes, please explain single-payer healthcare. I understand that Obamacare's purpose was to get rid of good independent doctors, right? So just to oversimplify it, single-payer healthcare would be nationalizing the healthcare system. Essentially, the federal government would get rid of and ban all private insurance, get them out of the market, and it would be a socialized system where the government pays for everything, but of course they would raise taxes. They would figure out how to reimburse doctors. There would be no free market in healthcare. They would pay doctors, they would reimburse hospitals, clinics, determine drug prices, and that, of course, would be catastrophic. That would create huge waiting lines. That would explode the cost of healthcare. Everything that our government has ever touched has gone to hell in a handbasket. Just look at the U.S. Postal Service. Take a look at our education system. It is no surprise then that the healthcare system only got worse once the federal government tried to get involved. The best example of this, and look, I know that the healthcare CEO was assassinated. I know that a lot of people are upset about that, and of course, some Democrats are happy about that. But the reason healthcare insurance is so complicated is partially because of the federal government. And this is not an argument. I want to be very clear. This is not an argument against Medicare and Medicaid. But as someone who does have family in the healthcare system and has some knowledge about it, the federal government reimburses doctors for pennies on the dollar. For example, if a doctor charges $1, the federal government is only going to pay back, like 71 cents? So the doctors lose money. Well, that money, they're not going to take a loss on that. So it's private insurance that actually makes up the difference. So if the government pays less, it's actually private insurance that's paying more so that doctors, hospitals, and clinics aren't, operating at these losses. And that's part of the reason why private insurance has gone so haywire, because of how, the federal government has intertwined and entangled itself in our system. It's created a whole mess. Now, the purpose of Obamacare, there's the official purpose, and then there's, what actually ends up happening. And so while Obamacare's purpose wasn't to get rid of good independent doctors, that's actually what is happening. It is very difficult for independent physicians to run their own practices because they're not being reimbursed, especially if they work in low income and underserved communities, which is, by the way, where we need our doctors. Those communities overwhelmingly rely on Medicare and Medicaid, and if the government isn't reimbursing them, then those private practices, those private clinics and independent doctors are forced out of business. So it's just very bad. Everything the government touches just falls apart, and I don't know why people can't see that. I mean, we have two great examples with the Postal Service and education, and yet Democrats think healthcare is going to be different somehow. Heather Morgan writes, "It's really sick to celebrate someone's death, no matter the circumstances. I feel bad for that man's family." I 100% agree. And I think the fact that people are celebrating openly speaks to the decline in our society and our culture. And it speaks to, a lack of having fundamental objective truth, fundamental objective morality and ethics that doesn't just, sway with how the crowd is going, but having true convictions of what is right and what is wrong. I think multiple things can be true at the same time. Is it true that healthcare insurance is corrupt? Is it true that these CEOs are massively overpaid? Yes. Is it true that it was wrong for someone to kill him? Yes. Is it true that it's wrong for people to celebrate someone's death? Yes. I mean, these are nuanced things, and unfortunately, because of the way mainstream media and social media works, that kind of thinking and the nuanced layers, it's unfortunately it's taken a backseat, but I hope one day more people will think the way that you and I are thinking. Last but not least, from Laurel, healthcare is not a human right. Nowhere in the phrase life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness is healthcare written. You have the right to live your life freely, healthily or not. It is largely your choice. You have no right to demand other people work for or pay for your healthcare. That is 100% spot on. I agree with every word you wrote. The moment you need something from someone else, it's no longer a right. So the right to free speech doesn't demand anything from someone else. My right to free speech doesn't demand that you listen. I mean, whether or not you listen has no impact on my ability to speak. I'm not, you know what I'm saying? And so healthcare, when you demand free healthcare, when you demand a service from someone else, that automatically at face value invalidates it as a right. You'll notice the wording, it's the pursuit of happiness. You're not even guaranteed happiness because that would require, presumably, other people to do things for you. But the pursuit of happiness is something that you can always go after, and that's something that is entirely up to you. And so I think, the founders were brilliant in every word that they wrote. It wasn't, some nonsense spun out by ChatGPT. These were brilliant men who had lived through hard times and put together a system of government, the American experiment, that is meant to protect the rights that they realize are, given to us by God and nature. If you enjoyed this video, and if you haven't already, please be sure to give me a thumbs up. I know it's a simple thing to ask, but it really does help me in the algorithm to reach more viewers like you. Be sure to smash that subscribe button and to check out one of these videos.